Hello, investors. Welcome to Simply Stocks. I have often noticed that people have a bias against mid cap and large cap companies, that these businesses cannot grow fast or perform well. But this line of thinking is wrong. If you look selectively, you will easily find 15 to 20 names or even more that are performing well. And the advantage of large caps and mid caps is that, as opposed to small cap stocks, is that you get a proven track record of the management and the business model. You have 3, 4, 5 years of data available to properly understand the management and the business. In such cases, your hit ratio will be higher with larger companies. The difficulty with small caps is that you will mostly find names that are showing good growth, but they might have only recently entered the market or had a recent trigger. There is more experimentation when it comes to small caps. So on our channel, in the videos of our Q2 FY26 result series so far, we have primarily covered small cap businesses. But today, in the fifth video of this result series, we will study 5 mid cap businesses from various sectors that have reported very strong results and are growing very fast right now. Therefore, if you are a growth or momentum investor, you should definitely check out these businesses. However, as a standard disclaimer, these businesses are absolutely not a buy or sell recommendation at all. With that being said, let's begin. The first business we will study is IT company Coforge. Around 55 to 60% of Coforge sales come from USA, Canada and other regions, and 25 to 30% contribution is from Europe, Middle East and Africa. Within this, they mainly cater to the banking and financial services, insurance, travel, transportation and hotel sectors. Approximately 40 to 45% of their sales come from engineering services, which includes everything from designing and developing your IT systems to their integration and maintenance. Furthermore, the revenue share from data, cloud, and infrastructure management is 20 to 25%. Coforge has benefited from two things. Firstly, their order wins are distributed across different sectors. So they are receiving orders from whichever sector that is doing well. I was listening to their con call and they are currently very bullish on travel and hospitality sector. Secondly, they have hyper specialization in certain sectors which works in their favor. This is unlike many other IT companies that offer generic services. Regarding this, their management has also stated that although the market is shifting towards AI, the market does not yet understand the significance of deep engineering of AI. In such a scenario, companies that can combine AI and hyper specialization will perform significantly better, and Coforge is currently working on this. In this direction, they have also secured mega orders. They won 14 large orders in FY25, and you won't believe it, the management has stated that they have already won 10 large deals in the first 6 months of the current financial year. So the velocity of large deals is going up. Overall, Coforge has received many new orders in the last 3 quarters. For instance, in Q4 FY25 alone, that is January to March, they won new orders worth 17,400 CR. These numbers are in dollars, but you will get the idea. Similarly, in Q1 and Q2 or in the months from April to September, they have again received orders of 4,200 to 4,500 CR each quarter. Due to these back-to-back order wins, Coforge's new order book has grown by 27% since the last year. Their management also seems quite confident. If you listen to their conference call, you will realize that their management is very bullish right now. They have even stated that they can comfortably deliver the kind of growth they are currently achieving for the next 3 to 4 years. Now, let us look at their results. Their sales in Q2 or July to September months grew by 32% compared to the last year. They have also seen very good EBIT margin expansion. The margin increased from 11.6% last year to 14%. Because of this, the profit growth has been very strong. Net profit grew by 75% year on year. The management's guidance is to maintain this 14% EBIT margin going forward. They will focus more towards growth than on margin, but they have also insisted that they will keep maintaining it at least 14%. And this 14% EBIT margin is their target for this entire year as well. And although it is not written here, but since Coforge is an IT company, their free cash flows are very, very strong. 80 to 85% of the profit of the company earned this quarter or approximately 425 CR is in cash, meaning it has come into their bank directly. They have also acquired a small cap IT company, Signity Technologies. They are benefiting significantly from this as well. Coforge gained good talent from Signity acquisition, and so far the acquired company's top 3 clients have given large orders to Coforge as well. That is why Coforge is a very good fast growing business in the entire IT sector right now that you should definitely study yourself once. However, you might find the valuation a bit premium here. Screener will show you, I guess, a PE of 50, but because it is growing fast and margins are expanding, if you calculate their forward PE based on estimated profit for this year, the business is currently at a PE of 35 to 40. The next player in the mid-cap space with very good results is Kalyan Jewelers. You already know that Kalyan is a jewelry retailer. They are in the business of selling jewelry through their stores. They have a total of 398 showrooms across India. This includes 300 Kalyan showrooms and 98 Tandia showrooms. And they also have 38 showrooms in the Middle East. Kalyan showrooms are your regular large jewelry stores where all types of jewelry are sold. Tandia stores are more focused on daily wear and budget jewelry, with lightweight jewelry typically priced below 1 lakh rupees. Most of their sales and profits come from Kalyan stores. Their target is to have 362 Kalyan stores in India, 43 Kalyan stores in international markets, and 153 Candere stores by the end of this year. Additionally, Kalyan is launching new regional brands for future growth. Their target is to open 5 regional brand stores this year. So this is a good strategy, I would say. The logic behind this is that corporate jewelry retailers like Tanishq or Kalyan are positioned slightly at a premium place. So they attract a more premium customer. But still, if you go in the smaller cities, tier 2, tier 3, a significant number of customers go to local individual goldsmiths or local small jewelers. They believe that by introducing these regional brands, they will be able to target the lower segment customer as well. This way, they can play in both segments. I would again say this is a good strategy. We won't see much of an effect immediately, but the benefits of this will be visible in the long term. Kalyan has also shared its future growth plans for next year or FY27. They aim to have around a total of 500 Kalyan stores, 233 Candere stores, and they will double the regional stores to 10. Below, they have also shared their debt reduction plans. The company is reducing its debt. At end of March, they had a loan of around 881 CR. Their target is to pay half of this, reducing it to 400 CR by the end of this year, and then pay off that remaining 400 CR next year, that is FY27, making the company debt free. Here, you should not look at GML or gold metal loans. GML refers to the loans taken by jewelry companies to purchase the gold or their inventory. We need to look at the non-GML portion. Now, if we calculate their store count expansion rate, it comes out to around 30% for FY26 and about 25% for FY27. This means Kalyan is growing its stores at a rate of 25 to 30% itself. This is a very good growth rate because if you want to check the growth of any retail business, you can add the store expansion rate to the SSG, or what we call same store sales growth. Basically, how many stores they are adding each year and how much sales growth their existing stores are generating. Their SSG in India has been 16%, thus 25 to 30% store expansion rate plus 15-16% SSG comes to around 35 to 40%. So broadly, this business has the potential to comfortably grow its sales at least by 30 to 40%. And you will find very few large cap businesses that can grow their sales at a rate of 30 to 40%. In this regard, their results have also been good. Sales grew by 30% compared to the last year. Gross profit grew by 34%. The company saw good EBITDA margin expansion. So their EBITDA grew by 56% compared to the last year, and net profit doubled compared to the last year. However, this is not the true, or I'll say complete picture of PAT, because you will recall that last year the government cut the import duty on gold, which made gold cheaper in India, and jewelry companies had to take an inventory loss. After removing that effect, the net profit growth would be around 40%, which is still very good. Now, let us talk about valuation here. In H1, their sales grew by 30% compared to the last year. H2 is generally good for jewelry companies due to the wedding season. But even if we assume the H1 growth rate of 30%, the company can achieve sales of around 32,500 CR for the full year. The net profit margin in H1 was 3.5%. Margins are expected to improve slightly. So if we assume 4% margin for H2, their full year average margin of PAT would be around 3.75%. In this scenario, Kalyan will clock a net profit of around 1200 crore in FY26. And based on this, their forward PE comes out in the range of 40 to 45, which is a very good valuation in the retail jewelry sector. Now, since we are talking about the jewelry businesses, the question in everyone's mind must be whether the rising price of gold might affect their sales. So overall, demand is strong. We have seen over the last 2 quarters now. And many people don't understand that a jewelry company does not make money from gold trading. They earn from making charges. When the gold rate increases, they earn as a percentage of sale. So as the price increases, their portion of making charges also increases, leading to the value growth there. And when the price falls, people start buying gold in large quantities, so they get a volume benefit there. Thus, Kalyan is also a good long-term business that you should definitely study. Jewelry as a sector has a very long-term potential in India, and Kalyan is your fastest growing business in this entire space. After Kalyan, the third mid-cap business with good results is 361 WAM. 361 is in the wealth management and capital markets businesses. It is a diversified business. So let us understand its business segments first, and then we will come to results, because understanding that will help you to analyze their results. In very simple language, what 361 WAM does is that it provides wealth management services to millionaires and billionaires. They manage various investment funds and also offer PMS and other investment services. 361 also runs mutual funds. This constitutes their asset and wealth management businesses. Secondly, they have an investment banking segment which is related to capital markets. What do they do here? So they work to bring IPOs for companies, or basically help them to raise funding. These are their two business segments: asset management and investment banking. The wealth and asset management business brings in recurring revenue. Recurring revenue means that they will earn regardless of whether the market goes up or down. You see that no matter how the markets perform, mutual funds or hedge funds will always charge you fees. The earnings here are called annual recurring revenue, or ARR, and this is their non-cyclical business. In investment banking, transactional and broking income is higher during bull markets because more QIPs happen at that time, or more companies come up with their IPOs during this time. So a good business in the wealth management space is the one that is moving from cyclical to a non-cyclical business. This means that the share of their ARR in the total income is increasing. As we can see in this screenshot, their average AUM has grown by 22% compared to the last year. This AUM is the money they manage for their clients. It can be in mutual funds, AIFs, or what we call hedge funds, or PMS. Annual recurring revenue grew by 39% compared to the last year. This number will seem slightly high to you because they acquired UBS India's wealth management business. Transactional and broking income grew by 9%. Besides, UBS 361 also acquired Batliwala and Karnani Securities. This acquisition has boosted their broking income. Total income or sales grew by 30%, and you can see at the bottom, net profit grew by 28% compared to the last year. Overall, these are good results. The share of recurring revenue, which was 67% last year, has increased to 73%. The cost to income ratio is currently at 49%. The management's target is to reduce this to 47 to 48% this year and 45 to 46% next year. This will lead to margin expansion going forward, and as UBS India and BNK businesses consolidate, we will see good growth happening ahead. Wealth management is a very good high growth sector. There was temporary stress over the last 1 year due to market movements, but the long-term tailwind here is very, very strong. Currently, India is seeing good growth in the stock market and wealth management segments, and the number of HNIs and ultra HNIs is growing very rapidly in India. When a country grows well, financialization happens very quickly there. So the demand for financial products also increases. A very good example of this, you will see that many HNIs have started investing in pre-IPO and SME companies over the last 1.5, 2 years. And then separately, funds have also been launched to target those opportunities. Here you can see that money from FIIs in India has grown at 24% CAGR over the last 5 years. Similarly, the assets under custody of hedge funds and PMS have grown at 50% CAGR. The wealth management market is expected to triple in the next 5 years, and the alternative investment market, that is investments other than the stock market, is expected to grow 5 times in the next 10 years. So this is a very good fast growing sector. Now, as a humble request, if you are liking this video so far, do give me a thumbs up. Also, you can subscribe to our channel Simply Stocks, where we bring multiple such videos every week. Honestly, your likes and subscribes are our only motivation so that we keep bringing such high quality research to you for free. So do like this video, and yes, also subscribe to the channel. Let's return to our discussion. The next business on our list is APAR Industries. APAR operates in the power transmission sector and manufactures conductors or such high tension lines used to transfer electricity from one place to another. You may have seen these lines outside of cities. In addition to this, APAR also manufactures cables for sectors like power, railways, and telecom, and they also produce the specialty oils which are used in transformers. It is the third largest company in the world in the transformer oil segment and also holds 60% market share in the power transformers. Now, let us look at their results. You will see their sales have increased by 23% year on year. Net profit showed a very healthy 30% growth, indicating the business also benefited from some operating leverage. Consolidated EBITDA margins have remained stable. Looking at segment-wise performance, their semiconductor division recorded 16% volume growth. The sales growth might seem higher to you at 35% compared to 16% volume growth, but the prices of copper and aluminium, which are basically what conductors are made of, have risen sharply over the past 1 year. That is why you will see higher top line growth. As for EBITDA per ton, it improved by 4.5% approx. This company has been operating at these high margins for the last 2 to 3 quarters. Approximately 50% of APAR's business comes from conductors, with specialty oils and cables, each contributing around 25% share each. The specialty oil segment did not see much growth because transformer manufacturing companies are facing difficulties in securing their components, which has led to a slight slowdown in the sector. However, the domestic market did show a good volume growth of 13.6%. Finally, their third segment, cables, also showed strong numbers. Sales grew by 25% year on year and EBITDA is up 32%. APAR has also benefited from pre-booking in the USA. If you look below, you will notice that US export sales grew by 121% year on year because see, tariffs were anticipated. So what happened was companies purchased and took delivery of as many cables and conductors as they could in advance. However, new orders have been put on hold now. There are rumors that a trade deal might be announced soon. So that is the factor here. Similarly, the rally in copper prices has also caused several power companies to hold back on new orders. Only those orders that were set at older copper prices are being fulfilled. A past Q3 might be a bit muted, which is something you should keep in mind. This is a risk for the business, but the sector is expected to regain momentum starting in November and December because periods from November, December through March is the best for power sector when orders are executed very rapidly. Furthermore, the monsoons were also quite intense this year, which has significantly affected the work in Q2. So to compensate for that also, the execution has to pick pace. APAR has such several triggers that will keep it in focus in the medium to long term. What has happened is that due to growth in green energy and data centers, countries around the world are investing significantly to improve their transmission networks. New transmission lines are being laid and old lines are being replaced. So overall, there is very strong demand in the sector. Here, the US is a high growth, high margin market for them. If the tariffs are removed, then that will be another major trigger for APAR here. And I was reading the transcript of their conference call where they mentioned that power station capacity addition has increased by 74% over the last year. This also highlights how rapidly investment is happening in the sector. The management has stated that there are no issues with the business in terms of growth. There will be some stress in Q3, but in the medium term, their India business is expected to continue growing at a rate of 20% or so. Now, given sector's growth, APAR is also expanding its manufacturing capacity. This year, they are investing 1300 crore rupees across all three divisions, and capex is also well on track right now. The fifth and final business we will study is MCX. We have been tracking MCX in our community for over an year now. This company runs an exchange platform similar to BSE and NSE, but for the commodity market, specifically for their futures and options. On MCX, futures and options for commodities like gold, silver, natural gas, etc. are created and traded. It is also a monopoly business holding 99% market share in commodity futures. Since MCX is also a platform business, trading volume or turnover is very important here. So just like higher stock trading volume on BSE or NSE leads to more brokerage, higher trading volume in futures and options contracts on MCX will bring higher revenue for MCX. And as India develops and its infrastructure improves, the consumption of energy, metals, and agri commodities will also go up. And as their demand will increase, these commodities will be traded more, leading to higher number of derivative contracts for them. This is because companies and commodity traders use hedging to reduce their risk. So this is a long-term tailwind for MCX. Roughly one third of their sales come from futures and remaining 2/3 from options trading. You will see that daily turnover for futures has grown by 55% and for options by 25% year on year. Within this, the turnover for gold, that is bullion, has increased the most due to gold rally, which has also benefited MCX. However, one thing I did not like here is that quarter on quarter growth is missing. This means that while MCX business has shown good growth compared to the last year, but numbers did not show any growth when we compare the performance from July to September with the April to June months. Along these lines, you will see that sales and net profit grew by 31% and 29% year on year. Overall, these are good results, but here too you will notice that there is no quarter on quarter growth. So this is something you will need to monitor in their Q3 results, as this can be a signal for a slowdown. But overall results are good, I'll say. Looking ahead, MCX management expects good growth. They have recently introduced many new products on their platform, such as index for gold and silver futures, silver options, nickel, fu- nickel futures, and also mini energy contracts. These new product launches can help them to maintain their growth rate going forward. On the other hand, the demand is also quite strong. You will see the government is slowly becoming more lenient towards commodity trading, and participation in commodity trading by FPIs, mutual funds, and retail investors is also increasing. So this is another good monopoly business that you can study. It might seem a bit complex, but you don't have to get confused. You should simply track turnover growth and new product launches, as these are two important triggers for MCX. The valuation might seem a bit high, but exchange businesses often trade at a premium valuation. Now, so far in our Q2 FY26 result series, we have covered about 20 to 25 small cap and mid cap businesses that have posted very good results. In the next video of this series, I am thinking to cover micro cap or penny businesses. I track several businesses in this space that are performing well and have attractive valuations also. So if you are interested in those small companies, please write micro in the comments. This will help me to understand what is your interest, and we will bring the next video on micro cap businesses. Finally, if you like this video, please do give me a thumbs up. Your likes are our only motivation so that we continue bringing you such high quality research for free. Also, to ensure that you don't miss our future videos, you can subscribe to Simply Stocks. I'll see you in the next video. Happy investing.